Okay, so your client is complaining that you're not doing enough tactics for them. How do you figure out how many tactics you should do based on their website traffic or their budget? It's actually pretty easy to figure this out, or at least have a back of the napkin calculation, which is really all you need to push back. Most clients are just trying to get more resource out of us. And the important thing for us is to show them that it doesn't matter how much time and effort we put in. It doesn't make sense to test more than we can conclude in a given month. And actually, the execution of tactics is pretty easy. It's figuring out what tactics to do that's difficult when you have limited amount of budget, limited amount of traffic to test with. So this is a what's called a split test duration calculator. You can actually figure out the formula for this as well. They do have an Excel version. I've made templates for this, so I can send you. But usually I just Google it. It's pretty straightforward. I also actually have a Python script if you guys are interested. But the easy way to do it, just Google VWO split test duration, and you'll see this. So what are the different parts? So it asks you to plug in your existing conversion rate, the minimum conversion rate improvement you want to detect, the number of variations, including the control, and then average number of daily visitors, and then how many people are included in the test. And it runs these numbers and tells you whether your test, how many days you need to run your test in order to get a statistically significant result. Right? And it's important to note that you can get a statistically significant result before then, potentially, but it's actually still recommended to run a test for the number of days that you calculated. What are these different metrics add to the final calculation? Well, if your conversion rate is low, then it's going to take longer, right? So this is saying a 30% estimated conversion rate. If your conversion rate on the website is 5%, now it's suddenly taking 228 days instead of 28 days. If you want to detect a smaller percentage improvement, so if there's only a 5% improvement, that's going to take thousands of days. But if the test is a massive change and it's going to perform 50% better or 100% better, that you can conclude very quickly. So this is why people give you the advice. If you don't have very much traffic on your website, make really big changes. If you're Google, and you have millions of searches on your website every day, you can detect even a 1% difference in less than a day. If you only have 200 visitors a day on your website, it's going to take you thousands of days to find a 1% difference. So really swing for the fences if you don't have that much traffic or budget. Number of variations, so more variations means the test takes longer. So if I wanted to test 10 different things, that would take 61 days. If I just want to run an A/B test, which is just A and B, 2 variations, it's going to take 12 days. And note that variations doesn't always map to tactics or tests. The way this works is multiple tactics might be assigned to one variation because maybe we changed 2 or 3 things for that variation. A variation a test can have multiple variations. So if you are running A, B, C, D, E, F test, that's 5 variations. It's going to take you a whole month. Tests don't have to necessarily be exclusive. They can overlap in some cases. So maybe you're doing an audience test, and within that audience test, you're doing multiple created tests, right? So try and figure out the scope of what you're trying to test. But the easy thing to do straight away and calculate is let's figure out how many tests we could run on our homepage, right? Conversion tests. So the Ladder homepage, actually I think Ed made it convert really well. Let's say it's 15% conversion rate. Maybe we're making a relatively small change, just the hero copy. Let's say that's going to be a 20% difference. Number of variations, I just want to run an A/B test. So 2 variations, and Ladder website, it won't be that many visitors, let's say 250. And if we wanted to know, how many visitors is that per month? So that's 250 times 30. Okay, 7,500 visitors a month. That sounds about right for our website. Cool. So percentage visitors, including the tests, it's all of them. So I'm going to hit calculate. So that means we can run an A/B test on our website every 18 days on our homepage, right? So if Ladder was my client, I would tell them, I know you want to do 3 or 4 conversion tests, but we can't really, if we do that, it's going to be running for more than 1 month. I'd rather do 1 A/B test now and then conclude it, and then the 18 days should be enough to conclude it before the next month starts, after we have time to ship it. So then we can run another A/B test based on the results. Or if the client really insists, you could say, yeah, no worries, we'll run 5 variations, but it's going to take a month and a half to conclude, probably, right? So, we can do some CRO this month and focus a lot on CRO, but next month it's all still going to be running. So next month we'll have to have a different strategic focus and keep these things running. So that's how you calculate how to do conversion tests. But actually, a lot of the tests we do are not necessarily conversion tests. Like, how do you adapt this to paid advertising, right? So, one way that you can do that is by figuring out, changing daily visitors, changing the conversion rate to something that makes more sense for paid ads. So, one thing that you can do is you can assume that visitors is impressions and conversion rate is click-through rate, right? So if you wanted to run a creative test and see which ad had the highest click-through rate, you just need to plug in what's your current click-through rate. That's 1%, say, for example. I always use 1% on Facebook. If I don't know what the click-through rate is going to be, probably 3% or maybe 5% on Google, because that has a higher click-through rate. So 1% on Facebook. Let's say we're looking for a 20% difference. We're not making really major changes, but it would be nice to get that big of a difference. Visitors, we're going to use impressions. It's actually going to be a much bigger number now, right? So, how do we work out how many impressions we can get? So, what you need to know is the CPM, a cost per mil, a cost per 1,000 impressions. How do you, I would say, you can usually look historically, you can usually look for benchmarks. Like if you Google average Facebook CPM, you can find something, even broken down by industry in a lot of cases, or you can ask, other ladder strategists or ops people, what CPM are they seeing on their clients? But typically for Facebook, I just use $10. For B2C, sometimes it's more like $5. For B2B, maybe it's more like 30. It just depends on the audience that you're targeting. But let's just use 10 for the purposes of this calculation. So if we're paying $10 for every 1,000 impressions, what I have to do is take our budget, which say in this case is $3,000. Maybe it's a small client in their first month. I'm going to divide 3,000 by the CPM, $10. So that's 300 times 1,000 impressions. So 300,000 impressions. It's quite a lot, right? So 300,000 impressions. Wow. So we could run 5 tests. Hey, even 10 tests a day, 100 tests a day. Okay, no. Okay, 100 tests would take 13 days. Like 500 tests, let's say. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You can keep messing around with this. So yeah, if you were just concluding on click-through rate alone, you could actually run 200 tests a month for that client if you wanted to, right? But most of our clients aren't happy with just click-through rate. So in that case, we have to adjust the conversion rate. And the way that we do that is we multiply the click-through rate by the conversion rate. So what you're trying to find is what percentage of impressions lead to a conversion, right? So if you're, say your click-through rate is 1%, then you want to times it by, say your conversion rate is 0.05% on your website. Then the actual conversion rate you want to use is this, so times 100. So it's 0.05%, right? So let's plug that in, 0.05%, calculate. Oh, so now my 200 tests are going to take 533 days. Now, it's just a case of playing around with this number until, here we go. Let's say, yeah, maybe 9. There we go, 8. Let's say 8 tactics. Gives us 9 days to get the tactics approved and shipped. Right, so that's pretty aggressive. But like we'll have conclusive evidence of those 8 tactics with the $3,000 budget, assuming all goes well. Right, so this helps take the conversation out of our ladder doing enough for me, and instead put it towards what it should be, which is our ladder doing the right things for me. Are they making the right bets? Once you know that you can only afford to do 8 tactics, and it's not really the fact that like ladder isn't doing the tactics for you or whatever, like we're being too lazy because we're not executing. Execution is really, really simple. Getting client approval is 25% of our entire budget. Communicating with the client, like the comms team is a third of our entire company budget, right? Like sending reports, we have a whole team that sends reports, right? So actually shipping a tactic is not that much work. Getting everything ready for the tactic to ship and deciding which tactics to ship, getting the client to approve, making the creative look good, getting it on brand, like all of those things, that's really, really where all the hard stuff is, and really expensive stuff is. So the client should never really be complaining about how many tactics you're running. Instead, they should be thinking about, are we running the right tactics given our limited resources? And now you can calculate it.